2023 has been a great year for film, movies, and for anyone who says otherwise, I don't know what you've been watching, what you've been doing, you've been living under a rock or something, because in this year alone, we got the heavyweights Christopher Nolan, who came out with a movie. We got Martin Scorsese, who came out with a movie. We got Alexander Payne, who came out with a movie. We got all of the greats who came out this year. And this is my list of the greatest films of 2023.
In this house,
we've got Skinamarink by Kyle Edward Ball. And I don't care, man. I love this movie because it brought me back to my childhood. It made me think about all those times when I was a kid and I'd watch horror films in the dark and I'd get so scared that once the movie was over, I'd have to turn all the lights on and watch cartoons. So this film makes cartoons seem malevolent, and I love that about this film. So it just brings me back to my childhood, and I love that this is a different kind of horror film. Now, if you see movies like Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, you might not enjoy this film. But for a sucker like me who loves those kinds of films, or at least the first films in those franchises, I really enjoyed this. Now, this is called analog horror, and I don't know what that is. I looked up some of it, and apparently it's just like a found footage type thing mixed with like a VHS kind of style, mixed with like, a narrative of some sort. And watching this, I love how it's experimental, how it's different, how we see things from the perspective of the children. I just love the creepy atmosphere to this film.
So, as you know, the autopsy report is inconclusive about the cause of death.
Stop. I did not kill him.
That's not the point.
The Palme d'Or 2023 goes to Justin Trier.
Anatomy of a Fall is a foreign language film. It's a French movie, and it's a fantastic exploration into a marriage that has fallen apart. And it follows this woman who is being accused of murdering her husband, but no one knows the truth, not even the viewer, and it doesn't spell it out for you. And I love how subtle this movie is, where basically you have to come up with your own conclusions as to what's really going on here. I enjoyed this film because it also reminded me of David Fincher's Gone Girl. It had a little bit of that flavor in there, along with its own creative nature.
I'm visiting my mother tomorrow.
do you ever wish that she was dead?
What?
Beau is Afraid by Ari Aster. Now, this movie is a different kind of film. You could say it's experimental because it starts off normal, but then you can just tell that this is not real. Like, this is a fantasy. It's hyper realistic. And as the movie goes along, it goes off of a cliff and it's just balls to the wall bonkers, and you have no idea what's going on or what's happening, and then it kind of veers off into this one thing and it's kind of slow and boring, and then it picks up again, and then it's just completely bizarre. And I love that about this film, of how just crazy and chaotic it is. I love the chaos in this film, and I think it's a beautiful looking film, and Joaquin Phoenix gives a phenomenal performance, and it's just a crazy movie. What more can I say?
Shit, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Because the outside world is scary, man. It's really scary being an American. Just going outside now is an extreme sport in this motherfucker. Like,
why you want this job?
I need the money.
Don't disappoint and turn out to be a pain in the ass.
No, not me, sir.
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I'm whooping my own ass about the fact that I did not watch this in the theater because, I love Guy Ritchie as a director, but lately he hasn't really been hitting the mark for me. I mean, The Gentleman, that was a cool film, but I haven't seen anything after that. So when I saw the posters for this film, I just kind of ignored it because I'm not a huge fan of war movies. Like, some war films win me over every once in a while, but I'm just not a huge fan of them when I see them. And so I kind of avoided this, but then I heard good things about it. I watched it, and I was blown away by this film. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal, fantastic actor, thespian, can do no wrong. Every role he's in, he kills it. And then you got Dar Salim in this film, who is an interpreter, and he lives in Iraq, and he's trying to help out Jake Gyllenhaal's character of John Kinley. And Dar Salim gives a phenomenal, believable performance in this film, and just the chemistry between those two is excellent. And just the setting and the action and the suspense and the drama is mixed in here very well, along with the musical score that's intense, and it just builds everything up times 10. I really enjoy this film from top to bottom, to where it's such a good movie that when Guy Ritchie comes out with a new film, I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch it.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Sound of Freedom is a very interesting movie. There's all of this controversy behind it, but I don't care about that. I just want to watch the movie.
In the works for years, Sound of Freedom has become a lightning rod for controversy and conspiracy theories. The movie is embraced by supporters of the fringe conspiracy theory QAnon. They falsely believe in the existence of widespread human trafficking rings run by Hollywood and so-called liberal political elites. The film's star, Jim Caviezel, has shared support for some QAnon beliefs, but no Q-related conspiracy theories are included in this movie. We're joined now by the director and co-writer of Sound of Freedom, Alejandro Monteverde.
I was about to go to sleep, and I saw an article on child trafficking, and I didn't know about that darkness. I was not aware at all. So it was not a story I was writing another film, and I was called to make that movie. So I always feel like there's two kinds of movies, the ones I want to make and the ones that I'm called to make. And it kind of felt like the ones when I feel a calling about making a film, I kind of give priority to that.
I was blown away, and I'm glad I saw it. It tells a really good, interesting story about a real-life situation.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
I love this film. The story being told is emotional down to its core, and it pulls that emotion out of you. And it's just an amazing story of hope and despair and just light and the darkness. And it executes that, tells that story perfectly.
There's a word in Korean, 인연. It means providence or fate.
Past Lives by Celine Song blew me away, and I'm a sucker for romantic movies as long as it's good and it's not cheesy. I don't want to see any cheese. I want to avoid all the cheese.
I don't want to go cheesy. I want to really avoid any cheese.
I like the fact that the director drew from her real life in this film. So this is a real life inspirational movie right here.
Past Lives is a movie that I was inspired by this moment in my life that actually happened, where I found myself sitting in this bar in East Village in New York City, sitting between my childhood sweetheart, who had come to visit me from Korea, who's now a friend, and my husband that I live with in New York City. And I actually, while sitting there translating between these two men, I actually felt like beyond translating between two languages and two cultures, I also was translating between two parts of my own self.
And it's heartbreaking, and you just feel the emotion from these characters, and it's just like the story and how it's being told from these two characters' perspective is just, it's amazing, it's engaging, it's intense, and it's sad. And it just, like, yeah, it blew me away.
This is your Rubicon. Do not cross the Rubicon.
The Holdovers.
The Holdovers by Alexander Payne is a fantastic movie, and it makes you cry, or at least it made me cry. I cried during this movie because it's so emotional, because you really get to learn about these characters. Like for me, I didn't like any of these people at first because they're all mean to each other, and then you realize why they're being mean is because of their past experiences, and so it starts peeling back the layers as to who these characters are, and I enjoy it. I enjoy all these characters. I love Paul Giamatti. I love every other character in this film because I can't pronounce their names right now.
Sorry, I can't remember anybody's names.
But it's a great film, great directing, great cinematography, great musical score that really just pulls on your heartstrings, and the performances pull on your heartstrings, and the whole movie from beginning to end, it's like a roller coaster ride of just pulling on your emotional chords.
Dr. Oppenheimer, nevertheless, with all the rationalization, with all the inevitability of the decision that history demonstrates to us, you and many like you who brought the bomb into being still seem to suffer, may I say, from a bad conscience about it. Is that true, sir?
Well, I don't want to speak for others because we're all different. I think when you play a meaningful part in bringing about the death of over 100,000 people and the injury of a comparable number, you naturally don't think of that as with ease. I believe we had a great cause to do this, but I do not think that our consciences should be entirely easy at stepping out of the part of studying nature, learning the truth about it, to change the course of human history.
I've been making films for the big screen for a long time now. Everything is about that larger-than-life experience that we're intending to give the audience at the end of things. I knew I wanted to try and do it in some ways in camera.
Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, the great Christopher Nolan. He has made a phenomenal film in Oppenheimer. Like, just the scope of this thing is amazing. The music in this thing is amazing. The performances from all of these actors in this film is amazing. There's just like so many actors, you can't name them all. But yeah, everything in this film, like, this is a well-crafted movie. You can tell that Christopher Nolan is a craftsman. He is a genius director, and he is a living legend that is going to be alive forever in the history of cinema.
Go worship your God.
The Osage Nation, a remote territory in Oklahoma about the size of Delaware. Like much of the area that was set aside for Native Americans, it wasn't exactly prime real estate. But in the early 1920s, something happened out here that no one expected.
Lo and behold, this land turned out to be sitting above some of the largest oil deposits in the United States.
Almost overnight, the Osage, who owned the land's mineral rights, went from being among America's poorest to the richest people per capita in the world.
Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon is a masterfully immersive film. It sucks me into the atmosphere of the film, and I'm feeling all of these characters' emotions. And the story being told is a tragic story that makes me feel the emotional weight of these characters in here, and we see how the situations are going down from multiple perspectives. Even though it's already 3 hours, it could have had more time and been a little longer. But this is a phenomenal film by the legendary Martin Scorsese.
This is a story that has real evil in it. Evil like I've never covered or ever experienced.
Really? Was that dark too?
Yes. The villain in this story, or one of the villains, and the people complicit are as evil as anybody I've ever encountered.
Do you want to see what the world is really like?
Yes. There is a world to enjoy, traverse, circumnavigate. Let us do this.
Yorgos Lanthimos, one of my favorite directors of all time. His movie, Poor Things is my favorite film of the year.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is an idiot.
Yes!
It has everything a movie-going audience could want in a film. Visually, score, performances, the story, its execution, the editing, every single aspect, all the way around, from the production design to the costume design to everything, is an A+++. It's everything. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a tour de force. It's everything that you want in a movie. It's everything. And it goes there. It has nudity. It has all of it. It has everything. It's a great film. I love the film. Poor Things. Yes, 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 yes. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The best films in 2023, in my opinion. That's all I have to say.